Well, hey there, and welcome to Understanding Revelation Week 4. And in this study with me, I'm going to do something a little different than I've done the last few weeks. And instead of reading through the chapter, I'm going to be outlining the content of this week's reading and everything up to here. I've been trying to set up these study with me so you can kind of experience things as I'm reading through them fresh. And sometimes I maybe aware of something in advance, but I'll just read it as if I don't know that. And other times I really don't remember or don't know. So this is the natural point if I were reading through where I would say this is getting too complicated. I need to outline it. Knowing what I know about Revelation, I may have chosen to do that earlier, but this is where I would have done it if I were just reading it fresh. And so we're going to start with looking at the first scene and kind of looking at where is this stuff taking place, put the content in there, and then move to the next scene. So there you go. Just finish that up. And you see we have got each of the 7 churches. I've kind of color-coded it with green, being that they get a positive word, orange getting that they get mixed, and red that they just get kind of a negative word, pointing out what they did wrong. So that is scene 1. And then at the end of this scene 1, we transition to a new scene. And this scene begins when John looks up and he sees a door to heaven. And then he is taken up in the Spirit. And here he arrives, and this scene is different from the first one. So the first one was he's just in Patmos, and he has this vision of Christ coming to him. But now this is a much more fleshed out scene. So it's not Christ coming to him where he is, but he's being taken to this vision of heaven. In this scene, we have God on the throne, and he's surrounded by these 4 angelic creatures and by 24 elders who are all worshiping him. John sees a scroll, and he laments that there's no one to open its seals. And then the Lamb that was slain appears and begins to open this. Also, the 7 spirits of God. So I'm seeing that we have the whole Trinity here. So I'm going to kind of outline where this is taking place. And then we're going to have all of these next events that we're outlining are all occurring within this scene. All right, we are back, and the okay. All right. We are back, and we've got this all set up. You can see we've got all of these elements in here, as well as a few arrows pointing and descriptions. And you can see with these 7 trumpets, these first 4, just like with the 7 seals, are tied together thematically. The 7 seals were this kind of comprehensive picture of war with conquest, war, and famine, and death, all how they're linked together. And then here we have a comprehensive picture of destroying a third of the earth. And this is just kind of my language, my notes to help me see what's going on. And so the first trumpet was the destruction of the earth with a third of the earth. So that's the trees, the grass, the ground, that kind of stuff destroyed. The second is the sea. And so here we have a third of the sea creatures and the ships destroyed. The third one is one we may not think about when we're thinking about like kind of land, earth, sky. It's the water supply, so the fresh water. And with that, we have a star falling down, and that's given a name. This star is going to come back in the 5th trumpet. And so here a third of the water supply is destroyed, and that leads to many people dying. And then the 4th of these trumpets is the sky. And a third of the sun, moon, stars are darkened and don't shine anymore. And then, just like in the 7 seals, we have an interlude after the first 4. Unlike that interlude, which was about 4 angels of destruction being held back, this interlude is about some woes being said. Then, in the 5th trumpet, we have this star which has fallen is given some keys to unlock the abyss. The abyss is open, releasing locusts, and you have this really vivid depiction of them. And they are unique in they don't do what I would have expected. They don't destroy the crops, but rather they cause pain and suffering like scorpions. But, and this is really unique, they don't cause death. If you remember back how we saw that some of the people were going to be sealed for God, well, those who have the seal of God are protected from the locusts. Then in number 6, we are referencing back to our interlude. And the 4 angels we read about in the interlude in the 7 seals, they are now unleashed. So they're no longer being held back. Now they're unleashed. and they are bringing pure destruction and death, and they kill a third of mankind. But what's really intriguing here is that the 2/3 who survive, they don't recognize and repent. Instead, they continue in their evil ways and their idolatrous ways. And then, just like last time, we have this 7, and it kind of ends with the 7th not occurring. There's this kind of a lot of stuff happening in between. And so, just like last week's study, we're kind of stopping without getting to the 7th trumpet. But I had to read ahead and find out what was going on. In the meantime, there's this interlude in chapter 10 where an angel appears with a scroll, where there's the 7 peals of thunder speaking. There's John eating that scroll, so a lot going on. And then in chapter 11, as we read ahead, we see the 7th trumpet. And with this 7th trumpet is the reign of Christ. As you can see, I've begun drawing some arrows to see how these relate. We've got this, how the 7 seals and the trumpets overlap with this. So in my notes, I'm trying to make sense of all of this. And there you go. That's my outline. It's going to get a lot bigger, a lot messier before this is over, I think. But for now, we've kind of got it so I can understand it. But what does all of this mean? Join me this Friday for the in-depth study. And in this one, we're going to be looking at 4 views for interpreting the 7 trumpets. So we'll look forward to seeing you there as we continue to study Revelation together.